Dawn. A 6-year-old girl dips her feet into warm herbal water. Her mother is beside her. Bandages are already wrapped around her arm. A quiet whisper. Beauty loves silence. The first turn is gentle. The second is stronger. The third is a quiet crunch that only she can hear. The ritual demands silence. Even when bones are breaking. Tenderness and cruelty meet in one morning. A mother singing and tight bandages. Her feet will become lotuses, a symbol of grace and status. Flowers that grow from pain. This is not a fairy tale about beauty. This is a story about how culture wraps suffering in silk and calls it ideal. Not an emperor's decree. A legend. Legend. In the 10th century, the dancer Yao Nian performed at the court of the ruler of southern Tang, Liu. They say she danced on stage in the form of a golden lotus, with her feet tightly bound. The ruler was impressed, and so were the courtiers. So the ideal spread across the country like a wave across water. 3 inches the golden lotus. The smaller the foot, the more refined the girl, the better the marriage. The process begins in childhood. The toes are bent under the sole, pressed against the heel, and tightly wrapped. Every day, they are removed and wrapped even tighter. Blood and bruises are part of the care. Sources recall that in some families, they sang during bandaging so that the child would not cry and so that the voice of the house would be calm. The main idea is simple: the body must be trained. A small foot is not just about aesthetics. It is a sign of obedience and belonging to the right world. The first steps are like walking on thin ice. She holds on to the doorframe. 1 step. 2. Slowly. And that is exactly what is expected of her. Walking becomes a performance. Small steps, swaying hips, balance with the whole body. For the male gaze, grace. For her, constant pain. Sources mention that the lotus walk was eroticized. It was demonstrated and admired. Rumor has it that in the late city quarters, people could pay for a private gate show. The details vary from story to story, but the very idea of contemplation was part of the culture. Every movement is controlled by expectations. Such a gate does not allow you to run, work, or escape. But it makes a woman precious and fragile. It is a theater of submission. The marriage market measures a woman's worth with a ruler. Literally. The fewer inches, the higher the price of the deal between families. In winter they bandage more often. The bandages freeze to the wounds and are removed along with the skin. The effect is better fixed. To prevent infection, the feet are rubbed with vinegar and herbs. At the same time, an entire economy is growing, shops selling bandages, ointments, and fabrics soaked in fragrances. Lotus shoes are miniature, embroidered, with hidden patterns inside. They are kept in chests and passed down from generation to generation. Beauty becomes a commodity, and commodities require constant improvement. The price is pain. Once the legs have been trained, they move on to the silhouette. The cultural ideal: a willow waist, an ultra-thin figure, a light gait, almost airy movements. Sounds beautiful, right? Now imagine trying to breathe when your stomach is tied with a rope. Sources mention posture discipline, clothing that emphasizes thinness, breathing exercises, short, shallow breaths. The scale and practice differed from family to family. It was not an empire-wide order, but rather a fashion and internal house rules. Is this still about fashion, or already about control over the body? The outward result is beautiful. In reality, shortness of breath, fatigue, and a silhouette that can be easily broken with a single movement. In order to not provoke the world, the body is made less noticeable. Are you familiar with this? Toning yourself down so as not to bother anyone? Sources mention that there were undergarments and bandages that pressed down on the breasts, such as moshung/dudu. The motives varied: modesty, fashion, a neat silhouette. Rumor has it that mothers in some provinces would bandage their daughters' breasts before puberty, to hide their beauty from view, or to protect them from being selected for the palace. Would you agree to this? For the safety of your own child? The stories vary, and their authenticity is not always confirmed, but such stories live on in folklore. Here, the symbol and the practice coincide. The body should say less about itself. More silence means less risk. In podcast language, it's an old world gym. Ready to exercise? The first task is not to move. The girls are lined up. Trays or books are placed on their heads. For hours, without moving. Could you stand for hours, knowing that every breath could cost you punishment? If a bull falls, there will be punishment. It's not just about standing pretty. It's a social code, restraint, self-control, willingness to obey. The back is like a string. The step is quiet. The gaze is slightly downward. When the legs are bound, the waist is thin, the chest is hidden, and the posture is restrained, only the face remains. Sources mention bleaching the skin with lead white, a porcelain effect with dangerous health consequences. Eyebrows a thin butterfly line. Blush, even circles. Smile, short and timely. Legend/regional practices. Teeth blackening is known in Japan and Vietnam, in China, rather among certain minorities. In folk tales, it is presented as a sign of restraint and sophistication. The essence is the same, faces are erased to achieve the correct image. Personal expression is minimized. Norms are maximized. Let's put it all together. Bandages that change the shape of the foot. Discipline that constricts the silhouette and breathing. Bandages that hide the breasts. Posture that teaches the body to freeze. Makeup that erases individuality. Let's imagine 3 girls. The first has lotuses instead of feet. She moves slowly, each step like a needle prick. The second has a willow waist. She speaks in short phrases and pauses to breathe. The third wears a porcelain mask. Her gaze does not argue with the world. 3 stories, 1 ending. The body belongs to an ideal, not to a person. The 20th century brings prohibitions and campaigns. The bandages are untied. Slowly. Painfully. The bones do not return back. Many women are ashamed to show their legs for the rest of their lives. For some, it is freedom. For others, it is the loss of cherished beauty. The truth lies somewhere in between. Beauty built on pain does not disappear without a trace. It remains in memory, in boxes with shoes, in scars, and in the habit of looking at oneself through the rules. A century has passed. The bandages have changed color. Today, they are visible in a different form, numbers on the scales, waist circumference in inches, filters, standards of perfection. The mechanisms are the same. The tools are different. Every era has its own lotus. The question is whether we recognize it, and whether we dare to untie it.